All right. Happy Monday, everybody. Today, we are going to talk about the last thing in our geography unit before the test. The test will be on Friday. So, before we get started, I do want to encourage you um, on Thursday. We have our class Zoom on Thursday, right? I really encourage you to be on our class Zoom on Thursday because that'll be a time where you can ask me any and all questions about the test, get some clarification on things you don't understand, so on and so forth. And I do not have your test ready yet, but I promise it will be all ready to go by the time we do our review session on Thursday so that you guys can ask questions and I can give you specific help. All right, so with that being said, let's get into our last little topic here, talking about Earth's human geography, and specifically we're talking about population density. All right, so what is population distribution? The world's population, or total number of people, is spread unevenly over the Earth's surface. Not every country, not every continent has an equal amount of population. We already knew that, right? Population distribution describes the way that the population is spread out. It's kind of self-explanatory, yes. Demographers, or people that study demographics, study the populations of the world to figure out why population is distributed the way that it is. They examine such things as the rates of birth, the rates of death, marriage, and why people choose to live in certain areas. So that's what demographers do. You might want to add that to your notes. Why is the population distribution uneven? What affects where people will want to live? What affects where people want to live? We talked about this the other day, right? Desirable factors, areas along bodies of water form natural travel routes and provide fresh drinking water and farming water. Plains with valleys with flat, fertile soil are good for growing food. Flat coastal areas are good for trading by ship. Areas with moderate climates and adequate rainfall. Places rich in natural resources to build houses and make products. And then undesirable factors, right? Areas with rugged mountains, hot deserts, dry land, little vegetation, little water. And that brings us back to the whole push versus pull thing, right? Things that push us there and push us out, and things that pull us in. So, continents. What are the populous ones and what are the not populous ones? Populous continents, so about 81% of the Earth's population live in Asia, Europe, and North America. Those 3 continents out of the 7, or 6 inhabitable continents, right? Not counting Antarctica. You've got North America, South America, Asia, Europe, Africa, Australia, Antarctica. But Antarctica is not inhabitable, so we just include those 6. So then we have 81% of the Earth's population lives in Asia, Europe, and North America. Yet these 3 continents only account for about 53% of the world's land. So you've got 81% of people in the world living on 53% of the world's land. Why is that? Well, if we look at the factors we just talked about a minute ago, these continents have fertile soil, plains, valleys, fresh water, rich natural resources, and good climates that sustain populations, right? So then we look at some not so populous regions, some continents. Australia, for example, its environment is mostly desert or very dry grassland with few rivers and very little rainfall. Africa is home to 2 of the world's largest deserts, broad bands of land that get little rain, and a vast rainforest along the equator. So deserts don't get enough rain to sustain a population. The rainforests oftentimes get too much rain to sustain a population. So you kind of got to find that balance, and that balance we find in North America, Europe, and Asia. South America is also very limited by landforms, and climates, where many regions have soaring mountains, dry plains, and thick rainforests. So South America kind of has everything that you don't want, and it's got a lot of it, which is why it's very sparsely populated, as we've talked about. So, what is population density? Population density is the average number of people who live in a square mile of a place, right? And I want you to remember this when you do your homework. So, in a country or city with a high population density, people are crowded together. The population density is high. That means people are bunched up like this, like sardines. Japan, for example, has one of the highest population densities in the world. Almost all of the people in Japan live on about 16% of the land. They're squished together like this. That's why their cities are huge. They have tremendous populations because almost all of the people live on less than a fifth of the land of Japan. In a country or city with a low population density, people are more spread apart. Canada is bigger than the US, but it has a much smaller population. So in Canada, you might not even see your neighbors, right? They might be that far away from you. And in some parts of the US too, but in Canada especially, people do not live close to each other for the most part. And that, if that's your style, that could be great. So, how do demographers measure population density? So, what you do is you divide the number of people living in a place by the number of square miles in that place. Remember, the population density of an area is an average, and people are not spread evenly over that land. So it's an average. It's like the GDP on the oil in Southwest Asia assignment. The per capita GDP of a country could be $1 million per capita, but if you've got 30 people making $1 million and one person making $1, and you divide that by 31, it's going to be close to $1 million, yes, but not everybody is making that $1 million. So it's skewed. So just keep that in mind here. Population density will usually be highest on level areas near bodies of water, like we talked about earlier in this presentation. And earlier in the year, people like to live where they can grow food and where they can move, right? And water helps that. Some people do live in harsh areas and over many generations have adapted to ways of life to support them in these environments. There are people that live in deserts. There are people that live in rainforests. There are people that live everywhere. Just areas where it's easy, where nature and geography make it easier to live, there's going to be more people living there. Yes? All right. So, population growth. By comparing the birth rate to the death rate, demographers can figure out population growth. During different historical periods, populations grew at different rates. For centuries, the world population grew slowly. Whew. Food supplies were scarce, and many thousands died of disease. As a result, the birth rate was extremely high, but so was the death rate. Right? Life expectancy was short. 100 years ago in the United States, people usually lived less than 50 years. And now we have better medicine. We feed ourselves better. We're able to live longer, which is helping the population go up. And I kind of just answered the question for you. Why has population grown so rapidly in modern times? Today, the birth rate has increased dramatically and the death rate has slowed. The population in some countries has grown very fast. People are living longer than ever. In the United States today, people usually live more than 70 years. That is unheard of historically. People were lucky to make it past 50. This is the result of two scientific developments. New farming methods have greatly increased the world's food supply. This is called the Green Revolution. And advancements in medicine and healthcare, like I just talked about, are resulting in people living longer lives. Doctors are able to help solve problems that had made people die at younger ages in the past. People being able to live longer. So, but population growth isn't all good. It's not all good. There are some challenges. The Earth's resources, for example, must now be shared by 6 times as many people before as in earlier times. Many countries face very serious problems, such as shortages of fresh water and energy. The rapidly growing world population poses many challenges. More people make it harder to find jobs because you got more people but a steady amount of jobs, so more people compete for those jobs. More schools are needed for the growing number of children. You find that at LCS, right? We've got our construction going on. We need that because we've got more kids coming to our school, which is awesome, but it's a factor of, or it's a result of population growth. Decent housing is scarce and expensive. Um, the more people you are, the more people there are, the more housing we need, and the more housing you build, oftentimes you don't build it the way that you probably should because you want to get it up fast, you want to save money. And then public services like transportation seem inadequate because they have to be used so much by so many different people. And forests are disappearing because people use wood from trees for building and for burning, for fuel. As a result, the supply of clean air decreases and soil can be washed away. So population growth, it is great, but we have to figure out a way to kind of mitigate, to kind of stop some of these negative effects. So just keep that in mind. That's your guys' job. When you get older, you got to figure all this mess out. All right, and here is a graph showing you the world population growth from the year 1200 to the year 2000. Let me move myself out of the way. So 1200, you got population in billions, you got less than a billion people. There's less than a billion people in the world all the way up to 1800. And then look at this. This right here is about the end of World War II, roughly, right there. And if any of you guys have heard of baby boomers, right? Baby boomers would be like anybody born between 1945 and 1965. So, like, my grandparents are baby boomers. A lot of your grandparents or great grandparents might be baby boomers. So, baby boomers get the name because World War II veterans, people were coming home from the war, people were having kids, people were having a lot of kids during the late 40s and the 50s. And these baby boomers have now lived into their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, however old. Well, not 90s, but they're getting there because of all these medical advancements. So that is a reason why the population has grown steadily. It's because baby boomers are living a lot longer than like their parents would have lived or their grandparents would have lived. So it's all stuff we need to keep in mind when we're talking about population density and the issues and benefits that come along with that. So I believe that is it. Oh, nope, that's not it. Never mind. Got away from me there. So migration, we've already talked about this. It's the push-pull, right? Things that push you are bad. Things that pull you are good. Demographers use the push-pull theory. People migrate because certain things push them to leave. They hope for better conditions, pull people to a country. They might be pulled by economic opportunities, more desirable climate, all the stuff we talked about last week. And you guys really got push-pull, and that's also included in this presentation just for you to kind of go back over. And I have included the slides on Canvas, don't worry. All right, so some examples of Irish and Vietnamese immigrants in the States. And these are just some push-pull factors to go over really quick. So the event, right? In the 1840s, disease destroyed Ireland's main crop, potatoes. It was the potato famine. Push factors, people went hungry, people starved. England ruled Ireland very harshly, leaving the Irish few opportunities to better themselves. Pull factors, many job opportunities in the United States. So people left Ireland, moved here to the United States. That's why we have a lot of people of Irish descent, especially here on the East Coast. In Vietnam, right? In 1975, North Vietnam finally defeated South Vietnam after 30 years of war. Many South Vietnamese did not want to live under the communist government now imposed on them, so that was a push factor. And a pull factor, we, the United States, the South Vietnamese ally, we accepted them with open arms, right? We said, hey, if you guys don't want to live under the communists, come on in. We'll accept you. So that's just a quick overview, quick review of push and pull factors. All right, other kinds of immigration, got colonization, people going to somewhere to kind of claim it for their country. Australia was colonized by the English. Australia was actually kind of meant as a penal colony. It's like you send criminals there so they can serve their sentences, so you can keep jails from being crowded. It's a fun fact for you. War, we talked about that. Helping families. The world becomes more urban. Migration also occurs within a country. One of the biggest challenges to today's nations is urbanization, the movement of people to cities from rural areas, and the growth of cities. We talked about this a lot when we talked about Latin America, right? Urbanization, cities bring jobs, cities bring opportunities. And you see this in the United States, and we'll talk about it when we talk about the Industrial Revolution. People were leaving the farms to go to the cities. And see, here's an example. Recently in the United States, the population has shifted from the northeastern states to the southern and southwestern states. Why? Because people are searching for better job opportunities or better climates, because it's pretty cold up there. The growth of urban areas in southern states has put a great stress on services. Used to be the Northeast, used to be the only places you would really find urban areas. But now that we've got urban areas down in the Southeast, in the Southwest, in the West, people are leaving from up there and moving elsewhere because not only to find other jobs, but because of better weather, better opportunities for their family, so on and so forth. All right, examples of growing cities. Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia, and Sao Paulo, the capital of Brazil. Or no, that's not the capital. Sao Paulo is a city in Brazil, are examples of rapidly growing cities. Jakarta's population has more than doubled from 1978 to 2000. So in 22 years, their population more than doubled. Sao Paulo is now the largest city in South America and is rapidly developing. So what's the problem? The cities just can't keep up. They cannot provide adequate housing, adequate jobs, schools, hospitals, other services that people need, like we talked about earlier. Life can be difficult. Overcrowding in schools, people living on the streets, heavy pollution, and other things can make life uncomfortable when a city can't keep up with its population. So why do people move? Most are seeking a better life for their families. They're looking for jobs, decent houses, good schools. Above all, people want opportunities for their children. Yes? Everybody get that? All right. Once you have kids, you'll want opportunities for them that you didn't have, and that's why people move. Yes? Okay. I think this is the end. Yeah, this is the end. All right, so last slide, guys. World populations, urban and rural, from 1800 to 2000. So in 1800, you had 3% of the population living in urban areas, 97% living in rural. And to kind of show you the amount of people that have that population shift from rural to urban, rural again means like farming communities, not big cities. Urban, big cities, yes. So you look here, you got about 1/4 to 3/4 in 1960, 1980. It's a little closer. 2000, 47.53. And this data is 20 years old. So I would imagine by now it's closer to 49.51, maybe even 50-50, urban and rural. So I hope that helped. I know I went kind of fast, but just really what I wanted you to get out of this was the population density part of it and the why people move from rural to urban areas, which we are going to talk about way more in depth when we get to the Industrial Revolution. But again, see Canvas for your homework on the population density assignment. If you have any questions about anything, shoot me an email. Be glad to go over it with you. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Look forward to talking to you on Zoom tomorrow, and have a great one.